we'll move on to the Southwest Light Rail project, which of course has been under development for many years, and the TwinWest Chamber has strongly supported the line that will serve more than 60,000 new jobs that are projected to spring up along the line by 2030. With the recent recommendation by the Corridor Management Committee to co-locate freight and commuter rail in the Kenilworth Corridor and the Met Council's vote accepting the recommendation, it is a good time to take a closer look at what's next and the timeline and approvals needed to continue to move the project forward. Joining us today from the Met Council are Susan Haig and Mark Furman. Susan Haig was appointed chair of the Metropolitan Council by Governor Mark Dayton in January 2011. She previously served as a Ramsey County Commissioner from 1995 to 2005, Chief Deputy Ramsey County Attorney from 1982 to 1994, Assistant Dakota County Attorney from 1979 to 1982, and as a staff lawyer of the Metropolitan Council from 1977 to 1979. Since February of 2005, she has served as President and Chief Executive Officer of Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity, which has built more than 820 homes in 50 cities with the help of partner families, volunteers, and donors. She holds a bachelor's degree in political science from Macalester College and a law degree from William Mitchell College of Law. Susan is married to the Honorable Greg E. Johnson, a Ramsey County District Judge, and they reside in St. Paul with their 4 daughters. Joining Chair Haig today is Mark Furman. Mark has served as Deputy General Manager of Metro Transit since 2004. In this capacity, he serves as Program Director for New Starts Rail Projects. The 2 active New Starts projects in the region are the $957 million, almost ready to open Central Corridor Light Rail Project, connecting downtown St. Paul and Minneapolis via the state capitol and University of Minnesota. Second is the recently approved $1.68 billion Southwest Light Rail project connecting the 4 southwest suburbs to downtown Minneapolis and the Central Corridor and the Hiawatha Light Rail system. Furman has more than 25 years of public transit management experience, including his tenure as Chief Financial Officer of the Hiawatha Light Rail Transit Project and North Star Commuter Rail Project Director. Prior to joining Metro Transit, he worked in the Washington, D.C. area on the Metro Rail system. So please join me in a warm TwinWest welcome for Chair Haig and Mark Furman.
Well, thank you very much. I am happy to be here. I'm particularly happy because the support and the work of the TwinWest Chamber on this project over the last couple of years has been really critical to getting us to the point that we are today. I want to say a special thank you to Will Roach and Dan Duffy, who have co-chaired the Business Advisory Committee for the Southwest Corridor Project. And what does that mean? That means they have attended hundreds of hours of meetings with business representatives all up and down this line and have provided their advice and guidance and direction to the Southwest Corridor Management Committee, which ultimately comes to us at the council. So it's been really important to have them participating and actually leading the business voice on this project. So thank you very much for the work that you've done. We should give them a round of applause. And I also am happy that we were able to recognize Commissioner Peter McLaughlin and Councilmember Adam Dunnick, who have also spent a lot of time with me on this project in the last many months. So it's always good to have colleagues to work with because these are big projects and they get done because a lot of people contribute and help us get to where we're going. So today I'm going to just talk a little bit, give you an overview about our project and where we are today, a little bit about project funding, and then some next steps. Mark is going to be here to answer questions in the question and answer period with me, and we really want to make sure we have a chance to get to that time on our agenda this morning. So let's just begin with how does this fit into a regional system, and why is the Southwest LRT project critical and important to the system? This map, which may be hard to see in the back of the room, but it's really important. This is a vision for a built-out transit system. The light gray lines are regular route bus service. The maroon lines are highway BRT service. The yellow lines on there are BRT on major arteries. And then you can see the lines on this map. The red line coming up to the blue line. The red line is the first BRT line. We opened that this last year. Coming up from Apple Valley to the Mall of America, it connects to the blue line, or the Hiawatha line, as it has been called for many years. And that leads into the green line. To the east is the Central Corridor project. That green line is going to open June 14th this year. Very excited about that. And this Southwest LRT project, as you can see on this map, is really the extension of that green line. And really critical to having a fully integrated transit system for our region. The Southwest LRT project is really important to this corridor because this is such a job-rich corridor. And 80% of people who get on a bus or on a train are going to school and they're going to work. So in making these large investments in areas that have lots of jobs today and are projected to have more jobs tomorrow are really what we're trying to do as we build out this system. If we can get enough funding for transit, we'll be able to build out this system. It doesn't look like that's going to happen this session. We may have to wait for 2015. And we understand, those of us who are interested in investing in transit, that investing in roads is equally important. Our BRT projects are always road projects that we do in conjunction with MnDOT in the metro area. And it's a way of taking the existing highway system and allowing us to maximize its use to be able to move more people. So really kind of a good return on the public infrastructure investment. So that's kind of where we can be. And this is why we actually are going to have a system with colors and lines, like a really grown-up transit system here. So I'm going to move on now to LRT, and particularly Southwest LRT. LRT is very modern. Every now and then you hear someone go, oh, that's a 19th century system. No, it's really not. It's a 21st century system. The trains are quiet. They are comfortable. They're easy to get on and off. They're easy for fare collection purposes. They're very customer friendly. And they're really a good investment for our region. They will have service that will really operate almost all day long. And in all of the peak periods, there'll be service every 10 minutes. That type of reliability, that type of predictability is so important to customers, and the choice decisions they're making about whether they choose to do this, where they get in a car, or whether they would get on an express bus. The other issue for LRT stations is the stations are anywhere from a half mile to a mile apart from each other. So they really tend to concentrate development and investment around those station areas because of their distance from each other. One of the great investments for light rail, though, is the development that happens around the station area, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that today. But the planning work that has been done by the cities along this line in Hennepin County through Hennepin County Community Works to prepare this project for good private investment along these station areas has really been kind of state-of-the-art best practice in the country, and it's going to be exciting to see what happens as we begin to move forward and build this project, to see the type of investment that will occur here. Well, the Southwest LRT project is going to have about 30,000 weekday riders by 2030, and as you think about it, and you saw that last map, that means if you live in Eden Prairie, you can hop on that train, take a one-seat ride over to the Gopher Stadium at the University of Minnesota, or all the way to the state capitol, or maybe to the Union Depot. But this line is also built for reverse commute. There are so many jobs in the Southwest area that what we hope is many people who can live in St. Paul, Minneapolis, connect by bus to this line to get to be the workforce of the future out in the Southwest Metro. It's also going to be a good connection to the airport and the Mall of America because it will connect up to the Blue Line, and it will be a very easy, convenient way for people to get out to the airport. So this is the scope of the project that was approved by the Met Council on Wednesday. 16 stations, almost a 16-mile line. There's going to be an operations and maintenance facility that's going to be located in the city of Hopkins. That's where we service the trains, clean the trains, prepare them for that almost 24-hour-a-day service that they have. And of course, the most controversial issue of the last 6 months has been, how does this train traverse a narrow pinch point in Minneapolis called the Kenilworth Corridor? The recommendation by the Corridor Management Committee and then the decision by the Met Council on Wednesday was to build 2 shallow tunnels in the Kenilworth Corridor so that we keep freight rail where it is today, where it has been for many years, keep the bike path which is there today, and then put the light rail trains in a shallow tunnel except for a small bridge that crosses a channel between Lake of the Isles and Cedar Lake. So that's really been the source of much of the discussion about whether that's the right thing. We probably looked at, it feels like about 20 alternatives, but Mark, probably not 20. Close to 20 alternatives here, a variety of alternatives, trying to find the one that would be least, I guess I'd say most efficient in terms of moving riders, least impactful to the neighbors around it, safest, which is always one of the biggest issues that we're looking at, and really trying to maintain the cost of this project overall. So that was the debate of the last many months, and I'm really pleased that we're at this milestone that is significant for this project. And I'll talk more about that as we go forward. This would mean that we could begin revenue service here for this project in 2019, and that's also an important milestone. So let's take a look at this map, and if you have copies of any of this at your desk, you can probably see, or at your table, a little better. But these employment centers are really key, and as you think about how this line connects up to other employment centers around this metropolitan area, you can see that we have the Opus Business Park, the United Health Group campus, the Golden Triangle Business Park, the Highway 212 corridor jobs, variety of areas, east end of Hopkins, the Beltline Business Park, West Calhoun. Lots of job nodes on this corridor. And as importantly, of course, there's all the jobs in downtown Minneapolis, the jobs at the University of Minnesota, the jobs along the other side of the Green Line in the East Metro, in our state capital in downtown St. Paul. So this really provides an opportunity for employers as they're recruiting for their workforce. They can have employees who live much farther away because of this type of transportation. And particularly for low-wage workers, the idea of being able to take transit, really puts a lot of money in their pocket. A low-wage worker can save about $10,000 if they can eliminate one car in their household. So if they could get down to a one-car household, that means people have a lot more money for health care, for education, for child care for their families. So I want to talk just a little bit about the Southwest Corridor and equity. You've heard some conversation about equity and what does that mean and why is that important and why are we having this conversation and why are we talking about race and ethnicity with the development of a project like the Southwest LRT project. The Met Council does forecasting of population growth and projections, and we've just completed those for the next 30-year plan. And what we know is that the region is going to become much more diverse racially very, very quickly. In 30 years, 43% of the population of this region are going to be people of color. And also what we know, though, we have a really great business environment here in really low unemployment, high school graduation rates, high home ownership rates, all things that are great markers of economic prosperity and success. It's not shared equally by everyone. And we know that there are large disparities between the white population and the African American population. If you are a person of color in this region, 25% of you live in poverty. If you're a white person, only 6% of you live in poverty. So the idea of paying attention to how we make investments so we provide equal opportunity for everyone to get to work, to graduate from high school, it really is about the economics of this region. So I wanted to highlight this for you. As we think about this area as a whole, there are about 1/5 of the people who can access transit here who make less than 150% of the federal poverty level. So this is really important in terms of providing access to workers and getting them to jobs. You might be surprised to find out as you look at these statistics here that this is true throughout the line. Some people might have a perception that, well, this is just an issue that is important to people in North Minneapolis, and that's not the case. And in fact, there are people with less than 60% of our median income all up and down this line. So this investment is really going to help them get to work, help them prosper, and help employers access them in their workforce. Here's a few more statistics about this project and equity, and you can see again that as we think of poverty, not just race, but poverty here, this is another really important issue, and you can see how these station areas compare to each other in terms of the types of households that live there today. Some people are surprised when they see this statistic. The station areas where the proportion of people of color exceed the regional average are really throughout the station, and they include the Eden Prairie Town Center, they include the Southwest Station, they actually include the Opus Station in downtown Hopkins and Blake Road as well. So I think very interesting as you're thinking about our region, how it's changing, how fast it's changing, and how this impacts people's ability to get to work and be successful at work. So let's talk about project funding, always an important issue, and where it comes from. Well, this project is funded 50% by the federal government through the Federal Transit Administration. They're the 50% federal funding partner, so they're really important to us in this project. 30% of the funding comes from the County Transit Improvement Board through a 1/4-cent sales tax that was raised by 5 metro counties chaired by Commissioner McLaughlin. Very important source of funding for this project. Another 10% comes from property tax levy levied by the Hennepin County Regional Rail Authority, and then another 10% comes from the state of Minnesota. So how much does this project cost? This project is a $1.68 billion project that's inflated to the year of construction. And you can see where that money comes from. So $842 million from our federal partners, $168 million from Hennepin County, $500 million plus from sales tax, and then $168 million from state revenue. So that's our task when we build these projects, is to figure out where these funding streams are going to line up and make sure they're available to build the project. So what's been committed already? We do have $93 million that's been committed to the project. Some of that, most of that comes from the County Transit Improvement Board. So the way this works with our federal funding partners as you might imagine how this works with our federal funding partners, we have to advance the funds for this project. We get reimbursed from our federal partners at the end. So the importance of having a local and a state share is critical to getting the federal partners to sign a full funding grant agreement for this project, because they expect us to upfront our investment in this project. They think that's the show of, are you really committed and are you really going to get it done? So we have a ways to go. As we think about this going forward, have a solid commitment from the County Transit Improvement Board with their share of funds for this project. I think our challenge in the next year or two will be the state share of this funding, and that's one of the things we'll be working on. So this seems like a lot of money. I know you're all sitting there thinking, wow, that is a lot of money, and it is. But as you look at projects around the country that we compete with to get the federal funds, this is not the most expensive project. And in fact, it's sort of right in the middle of the pack. These are very expensive projects to build. And you can see our competitor regions. So when we get funding for this project, it's not like a road projects where you get an allocation based on a per capita amount of money that goes to your state or to your region. We actually have to compete to show cost effectiveness, the amount of riders, the investment that's going to occur around stationaries, and the commitment of the state and local share of this project, just to name a few of the criteria that they will look at. So in 2013, this is where we were. These were the other projects in the New Start, what we call the New Starts pipeline. That's really our competitor group around the country. You can see Houston, Charlotte, Vancouver, Washington, Maryland, Baltimore, San Diego, Sacramento, Los Angeles. In 2014, those projects were all advancing. You can see Charlotte jumped way out ahead. They got their full funding grant agreement signed for their project, which is the federal government's, final seal of approval going, we are in, you're in, the project is a go. And then Sacramento also jumped ahead. Los Angeles went in further into engineering. And Minneapolis stayed where we have been because of the amount of time we've been spending trying to resolve the alignment issue on this project. And as we look to 2015, we know that's going to, the competition continues to increase. And so what's important to us is the fact that we've now made this milestone decision about project budget and scope. And we're going to move to the stage of this project where we go to the cities and to Hennepin County to get their support for this project through our state law, which requires and asks us to go to them to get municipal consent for the project. So you can see when we're competing for New Start funding, there is a cap on that amount of money that's available. And all of those projects on the previous list are competing with us for this project. So we want this project to be as competitive as possible, and we want to move it along as quickly as possible so we can stay in line for that federal share of this investment. So what happens now? The Met Council adopted the final project budget and scope. This project will then move forward. I think maybe that happened already, didn't it, Mark? We've sent these design plans off to all of the cities along the line in Hennepin County, which triggers a time period for them to review them, get back to us with their perspective and comment. Now, when I say that, I don't want you to think we haven't been talking to them. We have had technical teams with the public works departments, the community development departments, the economic development departments of each one of these cities in Hennepin County for the last 2.5 years. They know very, very well what this project design is because they have helped to resolve what were about 25 technical issues that have been resolved in the alignment of this project. So we're excited to hear from them. We'll be holding another public hearing in May along with Hennepin County. And then the cities also get to hold another public hearing to get input on the project. And the County Transit Improvement Board, you saw who are our 30% funding partner on this project, said, you know, it's time to make a decision. It's time to get this municipal consent done. We've spent enough time on it. We're not able to advance other projects until this project gets resolved. So they've given us a deadline of having this whole process completed by June 30th of this year. And it looks like we're on track to get there, I hope. So how does this all work out? So we're in project development now, this last year. We're going to complete the supplemental DIS, which is one of the federal requirements of the process. We go into our final engineering in 2014 and 15. We hope to sign a full funding grant agreement in 2016. That's the last year of the Obama administration. The Obama administration signed the full funding grant agreement for the other half of this project, the east half of this Green Line. The opening of the Green Line on June 14th will be the first project funded by the Obama administration with a full funding grant agreement. So we're excited about that. We'll start heavy construction in 2016 and 18, and then revenue service should start in 2019. So we did have the president here, and that was exciting. It's the first time we've had a United States president come and get on into a light rail car in a transit facility, I think, in the history of the U.S. presidency. So we were pretty proud to have them at the operation and maintenance facility for the Green Line and to have him showcase why transit is important for economic growth and prosperity and getting people to work and providing opportunity. So with that, Mark is here with me, and we are going to have lots of time for questions and look forward to what questions you might have for us.
Tess, here we are. Who's got a question? We can.
I just have to say I have not been in an audience who has not had a question about the Southwest LRT projects. I'll be really disappointed if people don't have questions.
I'm Bruce Taher. Thank you for coming. Can you talk a little bit, perhaps you or Mark, about once it's built, what are the operational issues and incomes, expenses?
Are you talking about what are the issues around income for operations of the train?
Now, once it's built, will it be something that has to be subsidized by the state, by the cities, by the counties? Will it support itself? What's the projection?
Sure. I'm going to have Mark come on up and share this answer with me, but just like our light rail service that currently is operating, yes, there has to be investment of public funds into the revenue, but I can say that the light rail service is probably the most efficient of our services. As you think of one operator driving a 3-car train that could have 200 people on it, way more efficient than one operator on driving one bus with 59 people on it. But Mark, you go ahead and embellish.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, all. Operationally, when we open up the Southwest line here in 2019, probably be about $30 million a year to operate. We will have fare box revenues that will comprise probably 38% has been our experience on Hiawatha, and will probably be more even on the Central line. So in that range. Of all those other 14 light rail and heavy rail projects that you saw on the chart earlier, we at Metro Transit pride ourselves in that we have some of the highest fare box recovery of any of those lines. We're very cost efficient with our operations. And then the other 60% or so is funded combined, half of that through state general fund and half of that through the CTIB sales tax contributions for the operations.
You know, the one slide I didn't have here that I probably should have for this project, and just to give you an example of the type of development that's going on in the region as a result of the Green Line that's going to open in June. We've been tracking the pulling of building permits for development along the Green Line prior to operation. And so for about the last 2.5 years, there's now been about $1.7 billion in building permits pulled along that line. New housing development, some commercial development, but a lot of housing development that's being pulled along that line. We anticipate and expect that we'd see a similar type of development along this line as well.
Thank you. This is directed to Chair Haig. I've seen you appear at several of these functions with regards to the light rail. I'm amazed at how you keep your composure and your positive attitude. You've been faced with so many challenges.
Yeah.
I chair the St. Louis Park Business Council,
Oh.
and if I hear about one more study, I'm going to scream. So I guess my question to you is, it's kind of in left field here, is
Yeah.
how, and this could be a lesson to all of us, how do you keep your composure and your positive attitude? And also, what do you do to relax?
Okay. Well, you know what? I really believe in democracy. I really believe in citizens being able to participate, ask questions, share information, and I realize that oftentimes citizens don't have all the information when they come to talk with you about something. And we have the benefit of having the opportunity to be well prepared. We have excellent staff here at the Met Council. And then the funny answer is I work hard on my exercise at night. And that's how I kind of work that off when I'm on that elliptical and just going away on it. And that makes me calm the next day. And then I think the other thing that really makes me calm is, I actually work at Habitat for Humanity as my full-time job. And I work with families who are struggling to make ends meet, who work very, very hard. And I think their lives are hard. And so I don't think what I do is that hard in comparison to that, to be very honest. And I've appreciated the difficult questions that we've gotten from people. I think in the long run, though it's been hard and painful sometimes, I think it has made the project better. And I think it's given everyone a good understanding of what it is we're doing and why we're doing it. And that's really important in the long run. But thank you for that compliment.
I just wanted to add to what Dan said because just to give you a little bit of an insight, we've been meeting in the governor's office over the last, it's really been several months, but it's been heating up over the last couple of months with the local legislators, the mayors, the Met Council folks, really to iron out some of these final disputes. And it is so exceedingly painful that I want to just jump out of a chair and say, are you kidding? We're going to, again, go back and get more public input, because we all know what the public thinks. They've told us over and over what they think. And Chair Haig just sits there and says, this process is important, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I really do echo that. And then the other thing is the governor really demanded that the Mitchell Station be put back on because I don't know if you followed it, but during the course of this dispute, at one point the Mitchell Station was lost. And so that was so important to our region that if we are going to fulfill those job opportunities and expansion opportunities, having that is critical. And so thanks for your support on that.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate that.
Good morning. I'm Greg Korstad. Interestingly enough, I worked for the Regional Transit Board some years ago, many years ago, and I remember telling Mark Furman, I'm probably going to be retired before we get transit up and running, and I guess I was right. But my question is, if you would tell us a little more...
Keep working, Greg.
I guess I would ask if you would tell us a little more about the municipal consent component to this. It strikes me that we're probably going to see a lot more discussion with a more local focus. And if we could understand that process a little better, first of all. And secondly, is there something we as a business community that are supportive of the need for transit can do to participate in that process?
Well, I think there is. I think your voice is really important. I think it's really important for all of the cities on the line, but probably particularly Minneapolis, to understand that this job-rich corridor is good for people who live in Minneapolis because they can come to jobs here easily. And you are the people who have those jobs. And so I think that's really an important message, that this isn't just about people from the outer suburbs going into Minneapolis. It's really about a system that allows for people to go all over the region. And that's how you try to build an integrated system. And I think you all get that. So I think that's particularly important. So I think the way that you can join with the other business groups and let the policymakers know, particularly in Minneapolis, that that's important. I anticipate, based on all of the work we've done with Eden Prairie and Minnetonka and Hopkins and St. Louis Park, that it'll be a pretty smooth municipal consent process there. So what's involved with it, the idea of the whole municipal consent process was to make sure that we had worked effectively with local governments all the way on the design of the process up to this point, which we have been doing, and to allow those policymakers to finally kind of weigh in. We've been, of course, our Southwest Corridor Management Committee has included the elected officials up and down the line, and that's really been important to this process. So they have been at the table all along, but now this is everyone on those bodies has a chance to weigh in.
This would be a little more in support of what Bruce's question was earlier regarding the funding and, you know, the fare box. And we're familiar that we're better than many, many municipalities around the country in collection. But how does that compare to buses and roads? How much public funding for those versus what we participate in? I think we need to make sure we understand how each of them weigh in.
Sure. I'm going to have Mark talk about the bus part of it.
Again, Metro Transit is one of the most efficient with our cost of operations on the bus side, and we track how we fare, F-A-I-R, with the F-A-R-E of our peers. And on the bus side, we're about 28% fare box recovery. Many other bus operations nationally of our size are teens or 20%. And I don't know so much about the road side, but the commissioner who does govern roads can speak to that.
Well, let me just, I'm Peter McLaughlin from the Hennepin County Board. There's well over $1 billion a year in property taxes that go into the road system in the state of Minnesota. We know that there have been bonding projects. I mean, if you think about the Lowry Avenue Bridge or the Ford Bridge, those are county bridges that we put property taxes into so that there is a huge subsidization of roads as well. You know, there's a myth out there that the roads pay for themselves. They don't. There's the road funding. Think about the potholes and how much money we're all putting into maintenance of potholes out of our property taxes. That's the other side of the equation. And so we're talking about a balanced system here. That's what we're trying to build. It's roads, it's transit, and we don't put the LRT everywhere. We put the LRT where it makes sense. This corridor does make sense as a part of a balanced system. So this is basic public infrastructure, roads and transit, and the fare box or the gas tax is not paying for either one of them completely because we need it. We are making that extra investment so that we've got transportation that works for business, that works for people, and that's really what it's about.
Well, Peter and I will probably go back and forth here a little bit then. Thank you very much. So what I'm hearing is we actually subsidize, from a public standpoint, LRT, rapid transit, roads, bridges, maybe fairly equally, but I mean none of them are fully supporting.
No.
Okay.
Oh, no.
The public subsidy or the funding for this project, the one I'm concerned with is the state, even though it's only 10%. I've seen it evolve over the several years, the past 5-10 years, where it seemed like it was going to be bonding or full governor support, and now it's gone back to, well, let's do some more studies, and now it's no longer in the bonding bill, and it seems like it's just getting more and more remote. Where is the governor, or do you feel the funding is going to come from a state standpoint?
Well, I think the governor feels strongly, and the governor put into his budget for this year an additional half-cent transit sales tax. And the half-cent transit sales tax, if it was passed, would provide more than adequate funding for the state share of this project. We have enough resource to get through the next year, and what will be really important is on the state share, but what will really be important in 2015 is to get that passed. I think there is a sense that bonding bills are difficult to get passed. You know, they have to have support statewide. Greater Minnesota legislators don't always see this investment in what they consider to be just a regional metro project as a statewide value. And so I think the idea is that the transit sales tax is more dedicated, a sales tax for transit is more tied to users and what users pay. And Greater Minnesota people would pay that when they're here visiting and purchasing things in this area, as well as residents who live here. So it seems like a little bit of a more balanced approach. I know the governor has full support for this project and understands well that we have to have a state share for this project going forward, and look forward to the work that we do with the business community on the overall transportation funding package for 2015. It'll be key to this project. Did I say that okay, Senator Bonhoeff?
With regard to the bonding, the local legislators weren't willing to support that in this bonding bill until the disputes were resolved.
That's also true. Right.
Hi, my name's Will Roach, and there was exciting news this week with Hennepin County and interchange, and so a connection point between St. Paul, Minneapolis, and Southwest happened this week. Could you talk a little bit about Target Field?
Sure, and I'll call on Peter to join me too, but Target Field Station, which is going to be greatly expanded to prepare for the eventual development of the Green Line, and to have a station that will really be the multimodal hub for Minneapolis and for the West Metro that we now have in St. Paul with the Union Depot in the East Metro. And it's going to be awesome. May 17th, right? May 17th, yeah. That's right. Go ahead.
So May 17th is the opening. It's music from 1 to 3. Then, of course, the speeches. Don't miss the speeches, 3 o'clock. Only for an hour, and we're going to try to keep it down, but there's a lot of people who helped, okay? But this is, and then then there's a ball game that night. So you'll see the Target Field Station. You lose your Target discount if you call it the interchange again.
Yeah, I didn't call it.
Okay. So, right. So Target Field Station, we have a great partnership between the private sector and the public sector with the Twins, United Properties, their real estate arm, and Target Corporation. United Properties is looking at a major development right on 5th Street to go with the other developments that are going on down there. It's incredible. If you haven't been there, the amount of development in that Target Field Station area is terrific. And what we've got is we designed it so that we've got a second platform so we can handle the big crowds when we get the second line going to St. Paul. And that's going to be open in time for the opening of Central Corridor. But we designed it so they can just plug it. There's a plug-and-play point. So when Southwest gets built, we just hitch it up. When Bottineau gets built, we just hitch it up. No redesign, no rebuild. And so there'll be almost 500 train arrivals and departures every day starting in June. There are 1,800 bus arrivals and departures within a block and a half. And so it's a major transportation hub. It's a great magnet for development.
and it'll be a great new public space in the heart of Hennepin County. And so come enjoy it on May 17th and every day thereafter. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I want to follow up just a little bit on the idea of capital subsidy or rather capital funding and how it is done in other cities. And so you talked about looking at the potential of a sales tax here.
Yep.
And so how is it done in other cities? And if I can also ask a follow-up on the connections to other transit across the metro area, and I have a specific interest in the East Metro and in something called the Gateway Corridor. And if you could tell people about what Gateway is.
I didn't
and where
expect
that fits
someone
in.
here at the TwinWest Chamber to have an interest
We'll
in the
come from
Gateway
all over.
Corridor. That's great. So absolutely, sales tax is often the source of revenue. I would say probably 90% of the time. We have a wonderful chart where we show a penny, and we show the percentage of the penny that's dedicated for transit in our competitor regions around the country. And we're at the very bottom of that list with a 1/4-cent sales tax. Most of the regions are up in the 3/4, some as high as a 1 1/4 penny. So this proposal to increase a sales tax by an additional 1/2 cent, so we would have a total of 3/4, would probably put us at, I would say, like the medium, the middle of that pack in terms of that funding stream. And it seems to make sense. Often business communities have been leading that effort in regions around the country. People seem to like the sales tax because it's something people voluntarily choose to purchase or not purchase, and they don't like the property tax very much for that. And we've relied a lot on the property tax for these big investments, and I think that this is really the right direction. We've done a really good study of our competitor regions. We've also done a study, well, we didn't do it, the Itasca project did it, the CEO-led a business policy group did a return on investment study for that whole system build out, and what kind of the return on investment would be for the public investment we're making is really significant. It's probably a $4 to $6 billion return on investment. So we think it makes sense for economic growth and prosperity because we know these transit investments are really linked to jobs and job access and job growth. So Gateway Corridor is the extension of the Green Line out to the east. We've been in alternatives analysis trying to determine what is the right mode. Dedicated BRT, shared lane BRT, or LRT. I think it's unlikely that it will be LRT when it's all said and done. I don't think there's enough density there and enough jobs out in that area to justify that at this point. And it's a difficult decision because people in the East Metro would love to have what's being developed over here. Difficult political decision, and we're going to keep working on that.
Brad Bakken, and I sit on the Business Advisory Committee. And I was just wondering, between what's happened now and what has to happen now, what has to happen to get Minneapolis back on board and to keep it moving forward, and what can we do? Yeah.
Well, I think that the Minneapolis City Council will be really important. That's a form of government with a strong council form of government. So ultimately, it will be the Minneapolis City Council that has to pass a resolution here in support, and so we think that's key. I think hearing from many different voices, hearing from business, hearing from citizens, hearing from labor, having people say, no, this is really important for the region, and Minneapolis, it has to be a regional leader here. It's going to move 30,000 people a day into this city. And as I've said before, when people have asked me, well, would you go ahead without the support of the city of Minneapolis? It's like I can't imagine a situation where we would build a $1.6 billion system that's going to move 30,000 people a day into the city of Minneapolis, without the city of Minneapolis being a leader and being on board with that project. So I think it's their time now to really dig in. They haven't had this policy discussion as a council, and so I think they'll have time now to do that in the next 45 days. We've provided, there's absolutely every question has possibly been answered they could ask. I am confident of that with the studies that we've done. So a lot of good information out there for people, and we hope they'll take the time to dig in and learn, and we hope they'll be on board. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Haig, Mark Furman, and the others who contributed today. We appreciate that. And great to see so many of you here on this important topic. I just wanted to share a couple of quick things coming up at the TwinWest Chamber, so you can mark it on your calendar. Wednesday of next week is our next leadership luncheon. Kieran Folliard, the founder of Two Gingers, will be there. We're not sure, we haven't confirmed if samples will be on hand yet, but you're going to want to come and check it out. And that'll be at the Golden Valley Country Club. Also, our Leadership Council is hosting an evening with the Twins in June on the 19th, and all the details are online for that. Also, we have our Small Business Awards luncheon in May on the 15th. It's always a great event. We'll be recognizing several businesses for their great work, as well as our high school scholarship students. The TwinWest PAC holds their annual PACNIC event, which is a fundraiser for that effort that we have, and that'll be on June 18th, and there's more details to come on that, but we wanted to let you know about that as well. Lastly, special thanks to Grand Casino again for being our what do we call you guys? You're a sustaining sponsor of this event. It's great. You do wonderful things. Thank you. And lastly, our next legislative breakfast is May 9th back here at this facility. And go Gophers hockey. Have a great day. Thank you.